I was able to save $23 a month by replacing Photoshop with DaVinci Resolve, a free video editor. We use tools like these to make sick virtual worlds. After all, I want a $10 million studio. Doing this made me think, what if I could replace DaVinci Resolve with Unreal Engine? Before we can talk about software, we need to decide what our set is going to be. We have 4 choices to choose from. We can either have an LED wall, a metahuman, a sodium vapor yellow screen, or a green screen. LED walls are the best option, but they're really expensive. An LED wall can cost $100,000. So LED walls aren't feasible for myself. Now, a metahuman gets perfect lighting because it's a 3D model within the 3D game world. However, metahumans look off-putting to people, and they are not a replacement for real people. So I chose not to use them. That brings us to the sodium vapor yellow screen. This process was popularized by the channel Corridor Crew and Paul Debevic. While this process is an improvement over green screens in many ways because you don't get green spill and you can film through transparent objects, I decided not to use this process because it requires extra expensive materials like a light meter, a second camera, and a beam splitter that I'm not even sure the ones that I could find online actually work. The ones that Corridor Crew used was custom made by Paul Debevic, and he said it could cost $10,000, which is just too risky for a startup. Not to mention that there are other trade-offs as well, like the sodium vapor lights needing time to light up, and the process can't have spill from the outside messing with the color waves. So I just thought that for marginal improvement that it wouldn't be worth all of the added cost. I'm not a VFX studio. I build software, so this is too much investment for something that is not core to my business. So we've decided our set. Now that we've decided our set, we have to decide how much Unreal Engine and DaVinci Resolve we want to use. I'll save the solution I ended up on until the end, but let's start with full Unreal Engine. This is what I originally wanted to do. Unreal Engine's version of a nonlinear editor is called the sequencer, but when you edit video in Unreal Engine, it's much more complicated than just using the sequencer. You use the sequencer to record a sequence from a camera, but you also have the take recorder, which records specifically within your game. And then you have your movie render queue, which you use to export your video. And the sequencer doesn't work within the game. So all of these parts in conjunction make for a very unintuitive workflow. When you export using the movie render queue, instead of exporting to a format like an MP4 or like a .mov file, it exports a sequence of images. There is a setting to export a video file, but it uses console commands and it has to connect to a program like FFmpeg. And again, it is doable, but it's a more complicated way of doing it. One problem with Unreal Engine that I couldn't figure out was how to have audio input. Taking audio from a microphone and importing that into the timeline. If there is a way to do this, I just didn't find it in my testing time. If you want to add text to your video in Unreal Engine's sequencer, you can do this with 3D text, but 3D text doesn't look as good. So if you want to actually get the same result as you would with Resolve, you need to use what's called a UMG widget. This is a way of displaying text composited over your Unreal Engine sequence, and it would connect to in-game events. But this workflow was built for video games. It's not built for editing videos. So you find that it's a very complicated way in order to reach the same result. That's not to mention the horror that is media plates. So when I was working with media plates, I encountered 3 issues. One is that the media plate can be laggy when you record it with the sequencer. 2 was that even if it's working correctly, your media plate interacts with the scene lighting. And I know there's a way to get Unreal objects to ignore the scene's lighting, but I couldn't find this setting for the media plate. And then 3 was that I wasn't getting good results keying the green screen. The next thing I tried was the Composure plugin for Unreal. Composure lets you composite, so you have layers of video. So what you would do is have your Unreal Engine scene and then composite your live video feed or pre-recorded video on top of it, and then you can key out the green screen in Unreal Engine. I still didn't find this to be a simple workflow, and I was also having difficulty with the keying, so I ultimately decided against this. The next step was that I tried to capture and key in Unreal Engine and then just save DaVinci Resolve for post-production. Even though this workflow was feasible, you immediately lose out on things like fusion effects, the color qualifier, and node masks. I could live without these 3, but what really made it difficult was applying a lookup table to my video feed. In Unreal Engine, I think this is possible through blueprints, but it was really difficult. So what solution did I come to? Well, sometimes the standard choice is the best. I use Unreal Engine to export a background video and then capture, record, and post-process in DaVinci Resolve. Every setup has pros and cons. So let's talk about the pros and cons of my choice. What I like about the setup that I came to is that it has high reliability, high quality, and it's very easy to operate. There are a few trade-offs though. So the pipeline, now that I have 2 programs in order to produce videos, is going to take longer. This was my main goal in trying to replace Resolve with Unreal Engine, but for all the reasons that I stated, I'm going to stick to using 2 different programs. The second con is green spill. Because I'm using a green screen, I will not be able to get away from the fact that light will bounce off and illuminate me with green. But Resolve's despill options are pretty great. It removes the green lighting pretty well, and the result I'm happy with. Which leaves the last con, which is parallax. I will not have any parallax in the videos, which is when you see the background and the foreground video elements slightly shifting based off of your proximity to the camera. And this will actually be implementable if I do camera tracking, and that is something that I plan on doing in the future. I'm already working with different trackers for my camera. It's just been also a hassle to set up. I hope this video has been useful to you. Now you know not to try to do everything in Unreal Engine. If you want a cinematic look, mix DaVinci Resolve and Unreal Engine. I'm looking into things like Blackmagic's Ultimate, and I'm still curious about the sodium vapor lights. So if you have any recommendations to improve my setup, please leave them in the comments because I'd love to hear them.